Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake, presented by Cushy Dreams. I'm Jake Sorielli. BBD is here, and everyone's favorite, Foolish Bailey, is here, as we are at the halfway point. So I think we're heading to the baseball stock market a little bit. Some likes and dislikes. We'll start with some teams. We'll do hitters and pitchers, and we'll see what else we run into along the way. And Bailey, I'm excited to see how you came upon your results, because as the people know, I still have some 1990s Gene Stick Michael scouting in me that, I don't necessarily go by the numbers. I go by the feel. And I found a couple numbers too. But how are you doing, Bailey Bear?
I'm doing well, and we're going to be taking some stock for the second half.
Oh, no.
We're buying, we're selling. I think this is the toughest thing to do in all of just sort of sports talk and sports analysis, is to say, okay, here's a pattern of success, or here's a pattern where some things maybe aren't going right. And I'm going to predict that the opposite will actually happen in the future. It's very easy to say, great, this team's off to a great start. I'm sure that'll continue. It's much harder, I think, to do the inverse of that and to predict a pattern to stop. So that's what we're going to try to do. We're just going to throw some names out there. We're going to throw some teams out there as well. And this may be a fun one to come check in on at the end of the regular season, because you're going to be some spots where we're pretty right and probably some spots where we are horrendously wrong.
I love how you teed that up, Bailey, because we are doing an impossible task.
Right.
You could, one of the league players I did not get tasked with, and people understand that in a little bit. He's a potential guy that could get traded at this trade deadline, and who knows? We've seen so many trade deadline pieces go nuts for a little bit. We've seen so many trade deadline pieces just eat it. We are trying to do the impossible, and that's what we try to do every episode here at Wake and Jake.
Right.
That's just a lie.
Anything is possible.
It's normally me through my broken voice just trying to. Baseball's cool, right? And let's talk about baseball being cool, Bailey. Should we start with the teams, because that's a broader conversation. The way that you and I have formatted this is we did AL, NL, team we like, team we dislike. NL, team we like, team we dislike. Same hitter, pitcher. Yeah, everyone gets it. I think we should start with the team. And I did take a shot in the dark at your NL team, because another popular baseball reporter was trying to bring them to light. And it's close to me and BBD's hearts right now. So I'll let you run.
The NL team that I like for the second half is the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
They are 42-38 as of right now. They are 4.5 games out of the. On my notes, I wrote East. I can correct that to Central.
Yeah.
And 2.5 games out of wild card spot 3. I think this NL Central is way open. I don't know if you have the same feeling, but it's one of those funny things where it's everything's just Cubs and they're scoring the runs and they have Kyle Tucker and this is so much fun. And you look at the standings and it's oh, this is not an insurmountable lead for any of these teams, really. You know what I mean? So that's sort of part of the calculation here. But I would like to see this Reds team make the playoffs. The reason why I think they can rally in the second half and get themselves hopefully into a playoff position is that they can really pitch. I have a 3.81 team ERA. And when you park adjust it, considering the fact that they do play in the Great American Small Park, an 88 ERA minus, that's collectively the 6th best in Major League Baseball. Just added Chase Burns to the mix last night. You saw that. That was a lot of fun. Walked off your Yankees. Sorry. Hunter Green, looked like a Cy Young winner first couple months of the season before his injury, but they have pitching. And I think with in terms of the starting pitching, they can show you different things, because, hey, here's, Chase Burns or Hunter Green with a power righty arm. And then what about a crafty lefty like Andrew Abbott with a sub-2 ERA? So they can give you different looks. They can give you, the right-handed sinker ball of Brady Singer or someone like that too. So it's a variety of looks. In terms of the offense, Ellie's their star player. He's been one of the best players in June. His OPS is over 1,100 in June. Matt McClain, your guy, heating up, 900 OPS in June as well. And, I was in this position with them last year, and it did not bear fruit. And I was not alone in that. I think if you asked a lot of people around the baseball industry last year around this time, they would say, hey, the Reds maybe haven't been amazing, but on paper they're good. And that's just kind of what they've been. They've been we can't quite quit these guys because on paper they look good. What they need, I think, Jake, is a decisive trade deadline. And I'm really just not sure organizationally if they're going to deliver it. Will Benson hasn't been great. Christian Encarnacion Strand has been kind of atrocious. They're going to need to be decisive as far as those guys towards the bottom of the lineup if they really want to, compete in the Central or compete for a wild card spot. But there's a lot of encouraging signs, and even though they don't currently occupy a spot in the playoffs, they may very well be in the hunt.
So I have, ever since that, I want to say, was it the summer of 23 when the Reds went on that 11-game win streak, and they got into the mix and they had all of these young hitters. The Wake and Jake community has heard this speech, probably double-digit times. Because at that time, I was also in this. You can find pictures on trees. I know that's a little rude, and it's not true with elite pitching. But every team has seen guys go and come through their bullpen the past couple years that it's oh, wait, he was out of baseball for 3 years and now he throws a 95-mile-per-hour slider. You can't find hitters. So when the Reds called up this young core of hitters of CES and Noelvi Marte and everyone out, the young outfielders, I was I see it. It was a question if the pitching was going to come along. The pitching is here. Lodolo, some of his stats that go with all-time young lefty pitchers. Andrew Abbott catching up to him in a hurry. If Chase Burns is who he looked like last night, they throw the ball amazing. Jakey Analytics, Terry Francona is going to put the pieces together here. I'm still a little freaked out by their lineup because I don't know what I can bank on. I can bank on, honestly, I can bank on TJ Friedl being a really solid baseball player and leadoff hitter. I think I can bank on Ellie De La Cruz being a freak. The last time I checked his numbers, as with last year, everything is getting a little better. Let me double check that that's true. But yes, across the board, batting average, on base, slugging, which means OPS is also. The past 3 years, everything is just trending upward. I know there's moments at shortstop that make you say Ellie De La Cruz, the right fielder, might be awesome, but he can also make some highlight plays. I don't know what else I'm getting from the lineup, and that questioned with, I don't love the bullpen. Maybe I get too name-centric in the bullpen. Emilio and his pagan ways on the back end. And there's just a fear that the Brewers just run a better org. The Cubs have loaded up this year, that if I need to actually believe in Cincinnati, and I guess that would be the part of the question I send back to you, is yes, this NL Central has a chance to be awesome. Awesome. The Cubs have to come back down to earth a little bit, and that can happen in the next couple days. The Cardinals are still there. I can't tell you the Reds are better than the Cardinals.
I think it's just tough in the National League in general right now because the West looks strong. The East, has teams in the mix. So for a team like the Reds to make the playoffs, it would be a pretty big surprise, right? But I guess that sort of justifies the pick in a way, doesn't it?
Fangraphs has them at 4% to win the division, which I do think that again.
That seems about right, yeah.
Again, if the Cubs had a bad week, that number shoots up to 18%, which basically means nothing. Which basically means the whole NL Central is wide open. I guess for me, well, I have some Cubs potential regression stuff. Their record against teams above 500. There may be a pitcher you're hearing about in a little bit. That it is odd that they had such a gangbuster start, and it's the Cubs are now one of the powers in the National League. The Dodgers, the Padres, the Braves, the Mets. Well, a couple of those teams aren't there anymore. But the Cubs are a bad week away from being third in the NL Central.
Yeah. And those Brewers are just not going away, Jake. They just are not.
No.
that's another team where it's like, oh yeah, everyone in their rotation, you may not know their names, but they all have a good ERA.
We know Mizorowski here in this house. We know Mizorowski, and Quintana just does it every year.
Yeah,
Every year, every team could have had him. Chad Patrick, that one
yeah, that's the one. That's the one that's like, okay, you guys are cheating. Last year is Tobias Myers. This year it's Chad Patrick, and I think you guys are cheating.
that one gets me. Look where Sal Frelick is on your batting average list this year. Yeah, I don't know. Another one of my running jokes since I've gotten attached to this Reds team is every Reds Brewers series. The Brewers win the first game in extras. The Reds win game 2, 7-1. And then the Brewers take the series. They win 5-4, and the Reds blow the lead in the 8th inning. Like, I feel like I've seen that series 5 times, and it makes me wonder philosophically, are the Brewers, the inside of the Brewers, are they actually a step ahead of the other teams in the division without having the Cubs payroll? And I don't truly know the answer to that, and maybe that's just a couple years of BS, but I think there's a chance. Yeah. Okay, so I didn't explain it perfectly before, but as me and Bailey juggled this, we each essentially split a team that in the NL, my task was to pick a team that I don't like as much the rest of the way. I think the Cubs could have been in play, but a stat I referenced last episode, and it's not everything, but there's obviously pieces in here. I'm going to point at San Diego, and I'd love to get some of your thoughts on it. San Diego got off to an electric start this year. What were they, like 11-3? It might have even been better than that. I just had all this in front of me. Good job, Jake. Since then, they've been below 500. They were 14-3. An electric start. We did our first power rankings. The top team on the list is the Padres. They're not there anymore. And the depth has been the thing with this team throughout, and I'm worried about the depth. I think the counter to what I'm saying is if there's a front office you should believe in to add and fill in these pieces as the season comes along, they do deserve that credit. But, man, their record against teams above 500, the San Diego Padres sit at 18-28. So if we're going to NL West it a lot the rest of the way, I just think if I'm looking at the Padres on paper, which as we're trying to be predictive with this exercise, there's a lot of things that worry me.
Yeah, if you look at their lineup, which I think has been probably the more problematic area, they have, this is both simultaneously a good thing and a bad thing, depending on how you handle your trade deadline. They have areas where they've just got nothing, man. I mean,
Right.
Bogarts has been poor. Arias hasn't been very good. I mean, he's certainly not been hitting like you would want a first base. I don't know what they were thinking at catcher this whole. I don't know. I am completely beside myself that it's Elias Diaz and Martin Maldonado. I cannot possibly justify that for, a team that was in the position they were last year. And I know there's been some disappointment with like how, Campusano has been developing, but that is that is inexcusable. I could have told you opening day that was not going to, bear any sort of positive production for them. Hayward's been playing for them, and Hayward has an OPS that's like 500. So it's it's been bad. They have been, they've been poor in too many spots in the lineup. There has been some fun stuff. I've enjoyed Gavin Sheets this year.
Sure.
Not just decent production, but like clutch hits too. This is, I think I'm kind of with you, but my issue is my general stance for the Padres for the last like 2 years or so is that I've been just kind of like pro Padres, and I just feel like they're going to figure it out. But we'll see. I mean, the one funny thing is I feel like people, they want them to add another lefty in the bullpen, and I don't really think they need it, because a lot of the righties they have are like throw changeups and splitters anyway. So it's like, and their bullpens are really good. But yeah, I mean, they're going to need to figure out how to lengthen that lineup at the deadline, and they're going to have to get creative, or else they're in trouble.
Yeah, and it again, a front office you should believe in. They just got Jackson Merrill back, which if we're going to talk about him as the young center field Freddie Freeman that he was before the season, that's a significant piece. I just get worried as we point to a lot of teams, injury or not injury. Like if this team gets this team is walking a tighter rope than a lot of teams, and man, their offense hasn't been. They're 22nd in OPS.
Yeah.
Like what? The Padres? And I guess every part of the team I look around and I'm like, so wait, right now they've got 3 in their rotation, Randy Vasquez, Kolek, and Berger. Which again, they're getting some performances out of those guys, and maybe San Diego needs to be respected as one of the better pitching teams around baseball. But they're walking a tightrope, and they would need a significant deadline, and I think they'll try it. But this is also amongst the NL West with, like, what if the Snakes kick into gear? I'm not saying they will.
Yeah.
But you already have the Dodgers. You already have the Giants. We will see. We will see.
They are in a tough spot for sure.
What about in the American League, Bailey? I guess you go on the team that you dislike, or stock may go down.
Yeah, stock may go down. This was a tough. I feel like there's a low-hanging fruit here, and I didn't go for it.
Okay.
Because you know why? Because we're better than that. We're better than that here at Wake and Jake Productions Inc. LLC.
Thank you.
I'm going with the Tampa Bay Rays. Tampa Bay Rays, who have really rallied back, gotten hot. 44-35. They're 1 game behind the Yankees in the division. 70% chance to make the playoffs via Fangraphs. Again, I think it's a little similar to the Padres talk in that we know this is a tough division. The Jays currently occupy a playoff spot as well. I personally feel like the Red Sox are still very much in it this season.
Okay.
Even post Devers trade. I don't know if you feel the same way. I even feel like maybe just ever so slightly long shot Orioles, maybe at least playing a little spoiler in that division. The reason I'm kind of against the Rays, this feels like, and I mean, I understand that they're a team of, just constant roster churn, and the way that they succeed the way they do is because they are, they don't get too attached to any players, and they trade them when they hit ARB, and, and they're good at identifying talent in other teams' minor league systems. But this really feels like a transition year for them. I don't think they're going to really do anything interesting at the deadline at all. I think they're going to either stick with where they're at or potentially sell some of the guys that are getting up there in the ARB years. The outfield is it's Marcell, it's Simpson, it's Josh Lowe. I mean, Jake Mangum's probably been their best outfielder this year. So it's it's a little iffy there. And then in the rotation, I'm still not sure about it beyond Pepio and Rasmussen. Like Shane Baz and Taj Bradley are guys that I like in theory. And then the more I look at it in practice, I'm like, I'm just not sure if this is it right now. And then even in the bullpen, like Fairbanks to me is maybe the weirdest closer in baseball last couple of years, because here's a guy who struck out 39% of the batters he faced between 2022 and 2023. And in the last 2 seasons, so dating back to 2024, his strikeout rate is 23%, which is not, 2025 closery at all. He still gets saves. His ERA is pretty good this year. But I mean, I think if there's one team that is in a really good spot right now in the American League that I'm side-eyeing a little bit, like I'm looking at them like this, it would probably be the Tampa Bay Rays.
I mean, the other wild card factors here are the Rays are about to be the road Rays. That a ton of their summer is going to be on the road, which that can sometimes that unites a team. Sometimes that can be exhausting. And what the hell are we doing in this life or the next? Bailey, this isn't the analysis people want. I have no clue. Yeah. I have no clue that every starting pitcher has made their start. They had one Joe Boyle spot start. Shout out Joe Boyle. He's
nasty.
If
they bring him back up, that could be a problem.
We like the talent. Like you said, okay, front office wild card factor. They could zag. They could be in first place, and if the right deal is there for Yandy Diaz, do they take it? Potentially.
Or Brandon Lau.
Or one of their pitchers, like we just said. Like, okay, Joe Boyle's ready. See ya, Shane Baz. We've had a delightful run. Like, you never know what the Rays are going to have up their sleeve, and I think maybe we do get too attached to this, and this isn't the perfect comparison, but the trade deadline shuffle can affect a team. The Yoenis Cespedes trade, like that one, again, is very different than the Rays trading a pitcher, but it changes the fabric of your team a little bit potentially that I don't necessarily trust the Rays front office. And was anyone watching these wins? Like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be Yankees Jake. But what was going on? Like, okay, I see my guy Caminero. I know Yandy Diaz can kick it into gear. Like you said, with some of these cats in the outfield, Aranda, yes, I'm in.
Legit.
Out of the park baseball legend coming to fruition in front of our eyes. 8th in runs scored? 4th in batting average? If this offense continues, I believe in the Rays pitching enough. And I don't believe in the AL teams enough. But this Rays team does have some more signature traits of the good Rays teams from previous years, that there are some feared pitchers. There are some, if Mason Montgomery's light bulb fully clicks, like, who is that guy come October? Taylor Wall's just picking everything at short, and that's that.
Yeah.
That's some good Rays stuff. Like, where does Chandler Simpson land this year? The Rays are first in stolen bases. Our guy Caballero setting the tone on that front. That, I don't know, this Rays team has the stench of a Rays team that you hate to play for a weekend, and part of that makes it tough for me to want to sell on them.
Yeah, it's quite. Are we looking at a 2023 Rays team or like a 2024 Rays team? We just don't know.
We never really know with them. My AL team, I'm gonna go not cop out a little bit. I think the people know. Like you mentioned, the Red Sox were in play. I don't know, and as non-Yankees, Jake, I just don't want the baseball gods to reward them. I don't care where value-wise, and Devers ages like milk in 3 years, which I don't know, man. So I think some guys are just such hitters that, yeah, he's going to be slow, but I think that guy's still going to be able to hit a little bit. We'll see. You never know. It's baseball. I can't have them being rewarded for trading that guy. I just can't. It's just... It's
a deflator.
It's like not good for baseball. And again, like, I kind of like the Red Sox like, if the Red Sox were named another team, I'd have a kitten named Marcello by now. But yet I don't, and I'm allergic to cats, so that won't happen. I'm going Texas, man, and it's just Bailey, this pitching. If the Texas Rangers record was that of the Seattle Mariners, who are 41-37, they're 2.5 games up on them, I think we'd be talking about the Rangers as like a World Series favorite in the American League. Because their pitching is elite. They're second in ERA. They're second in whip out of starting pitching. The bullpen, 5th in ERA, 4th in whip. It's just a putrid offense. And the names I see in the lineup should not be a putrid offense. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to, hey, you go Tito, give me some Bochy. I have to believe this offense can be better than this. I have to.
There's 3 guys there. I mean, Langford, Seager, and Simeon alone should be enough to like carry this offense to some extent. You know what I mean? And Langford slowed down and Seager slowed down. Simeon, as horrendous a start he had, he has actually heated up a little bit. But if you look at the season stats for those 3, it's like, that could be a lot better. That could be an area right there where it gets a lot better. And so, yeah, those are 3 guys that I think really need to step up in that lineup. I think similar to what I described with the Padres, like with Hayward, like sometimes what happens is you get a guy who just, for whatever reason, stinks that year, and you give them, 100 or 150 plate appearances. And even if they're not in the mix anymore, like, oh, that really hurts your team for the first couple months of the season or something like that. And Jock Peterson is kind of that guy for the Rangers, because that has just not really worked out at all. I think in theory we loved it because he's raked so much and he's such a, consistent guy against right-handed pitching. But yeah, there's potential here to step up. Um, are you looking at Evan Carter's numbers just a little bit? I know he's played 28 games, but I wonder if there's a little post hype here for him.
I mean, Evan Carter, is he 22 or 23? He's 22. Like,
He's 22.
Evan
Yeah.
Carter, we shouldn't be over. Adolis Garcia has actually put together like a month. His past month has been contributing that it just doesn't make sense, man. And like Jock's numbers are absurd. Like I can't even believe it. And then what if like could Josh Young still be good at some point? He's 27. Like there are every one of these people. You know what? I've given up on Jonah Heim being an elite catcher. Everyone else in this lineup, I feel, could have an 880 OPS for a month. And dude, if they get into the dance, Bailey, Jacob deGrom has a 2.24. Tyler Mahle has a 2.34. They're both trailing Evaldi with a 1.56. Like, if this team gets into the American League this year where there's no favorites, if they're in the dance, they're arguably the favorite. and that's where this team won a World Series. They have Bochy. Like, I like the baseball symmetries. I just need them to not be a bottom three offense.
Bruce Bochy, by the way, legendary every other year guy.
How about that? I'll put that into my pot and smoke it. All right. Those are the teams. We got a little chunky there, but that's how we live, baby. Let's go. Would you rather do the hitters or the pitchers, Bailey?
Let's go pitchers.
Let's go pitchers. And why don't you get into give me the NL pitcher you like. Let's start off on a good foot.
I think you know who I'm picking. I think you alluded to him a little bit, but the NL pitcher I like is Sandy Alcantara.
Okay.
For the first, I would say 2/3 of this season, he has not been Sandy Alcantara. He has been someone I'm going to call Sandrew Alcantara. Sandrew has not been what we're looking for.
No way.
You look at the totality of the season right now. It's 15 games started, 74 innings pitched, 6.69 ERA. However, in June, 4 games started, 23 innings, 2.74 ERA. And I think the key thing here, and this is when you start to get into the Sarist and the stuff plus and the blah, 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 and the this much induced vertical break versus this release point and this velocity. But as a whole, the velocity and the stuff is mostly in line with where he was at pre-Tommy John. It's just location, right? He has just not been able to locate his pitches. And I think the big thing to look at on the horizon is he's been pitching he's thrown a lot of pitches this year for a guy coming off TJ, which I don't love, because that's the Marlins attempt to sort of, boost up his trade value. Right. But the change of scenery is possible for him, this summer, and hopefully a new organization can make the adjustment, most likely a mechanical adjustment that I don't understand, to bring back that command and control, because again, the stuff is there. And if you trade for Sandy this summer, you could get him for up to 2 more years afterwards. So it's not just like a rental. It's more so an investment. My dream destination for him, honestly, would be Detroit. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think there's space for them there. But yeah, I just think I'm taking Sandy because the pitch data says he really just can't keep being this bad. And even though he hasn't been able to locate that stuff very well, command and control are less consistent than stuff. So, there's been some flows, like let's see some ebbs,
It's gonna be an exciting couple games for him coming up to the trade deadline, or even the All-Star break. Well, he'll be one of the topics of conversation for every team. These last 4 starts, 23 innings pitched at 2.74 ERA. The numbers are Sandy-ish. 2 of those starts are Colorado and Pittsburgh.
Right, yeah.
I
did make note of that.
Let's see what happens next, because if he continues to do this, he will be the name at this year's deadline, I think. And he's no longer Sandrew, at least.
Yeah.
And I just like, with his upcoming years, a team should go for it either way. There's enough here to show you that he's a guy. What level of guy we're figuring out. Even if it doesn't fully click this year, how about the next two? I hope he does get traded, and it is a little scary looking at, Philly and Atlanta were very okay starts. Pittsburgh and Colorado, fantastic. More of that. I have a very unsexy one, but it ties into what you were talking before. I'm putting Matthew Boyd out there. This is a lot of feel. I went into the numbers and I was looking at some of the analytics and some of the expected, and they're all pretty. It's all pretty in line. I just don't know. Is Matthew Boyd now the 2.84 ERA guy that we've seen this year? Is he the 2.72 ERA guy we saw last year? He's got a career 4.67. The wind is starting to blow out at Wrigley, and I think he's a 66-ish% fly ball guy. I don't know, man. Matt Boyd used to always have Jimmy's eye. Jimmy would be my special pitching scouting advisor when I get a front office job, because there's some guys that Jimmy just looks at and he's like, that doesn't work. Matthew Boyd used to be one of those guys. Clearly, something has happened that he's been really good his last 23 starts. I just think the Chicago summer is going to catch up to him. That I expect to look at Matthew Boyd's ERA at the end of the year and it says like 3.5, which again, what the Cubs were looking for. That's very nice. I just can't get through my head that Matthew Boyd's a 2.84 ERA guy.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like we had this discussion last year about Shota Imanaga to some extent. Like, oh, here's this lefty fly ball pitcher. Like, we don't like the fit here in Chicago. And for the most part, it still worked out for him. He slowed down a little bit as, the summer heated up and he did allow a few more long balls. But yeah, that's, that I didn't think you were going there. And even when you told me Cubs, I wasn't even sure if that was the guy you might even look at. But I think it's a very interesting pick. I might be on the other side here on this one. I might be thinking he looks pretty good to me, But yeah, I don't know if there's much other analysis I can lend you than that.
No, and it's fair. I was looking for, is the expected on his four-seamer supposed to be like, everything is pretty much in line, and this one was my biggest. I can't shake the image of Matthew Boyd that I have in my head, that I can't believe the Matthew Boyd breakout is happening at age 34.
Right, yeah.
And that's just sour grapes.
It's pitching in 2025.
That's sour grapes.
That's where we're
at. Wind's blown out at Wrigley. I guess I can have some instant gratification or satification. Gonna start working that in. He plays the Cardinals tonight. The vaunted Cardinals offense. It's hot in St. Louis. Balls flying. I'm sorry, Matthew Boyd. I like you. The hitters. Is that what we have left?
I got a pitcher I dislike.
Oh, right.
You like? Did you do? Well, you did pitcher you like, right?
That's right. I knew it felt wrong in my head. I'll do mine quick because this is a little. I'll need you to call me out on this. Because eye test is a little different than results. This guy also has a Sandy. His last four have been different and changed the tone a little bit. He's become a meme in some John Boy media circles. I'm going to put Brayan Bello on the table.
No, this is the correct pick.
Okay.
This is a wonderful pick.
Tell me why then.
Because of the cutter. He's throwing a cutter now. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
And he's a guy. It's so interesting with him because, I felt so bad for him last year because, here comes Andrew Bailey, the savior of this org. He's working his magic. It's Tanner Houck. It's Cutter Crawford. So, and it's just like, did we not bring the magic fairy dust for Brayan Bello in 2024? Right, the guy that they actually paid and extended and really invested in. Where was his magic fairy dust? So I think more than anything, I'm probably just rooting for him for that reason alone. But he's he's throwing that cutter. The sinker for him coming up was sort of the premier pitch. Ran great ground ball rates all through the upper minors and into his first appearances in the big leagues. So when you have, I mean, that's just sort of the new pitching hack nowadays. It's just guys who throw a bunch of different fastball shapes, and if he can do that, like I'm definitely on board. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, and it's just weird. And hey, maybe that cutter will be the difference. But I think when everyone first got their eyes on Bello, and there's the baby Pedro stuff, which baseball can be pretty bad at. Like, let's insert Anthony Volpe commentary here. Like Bello, it's again pitching WAR. I don't know, doesn't do a ton for me. 12 starts, a 3.31 this year from Bello, which you're like, that's good. A .9 WAR feels off with those numbers. But again, the last 4 have been different from him. And I was just very surprised to see that his fastball and changeup, this is where I was starting. When you first saw Bello, you're like, ooh, those play. That's major league. That it is funny to see like those pitches are kind of getting hit, that maybe adding that cutter can take a little more off of those. That can make the all-around thing better for him. His last 4, 25.1 innings pitched, a 2.49 ERA. That I've 26 years old. Like everything you're looking at here is like, okay, maybe it's starting to happen. The whip's a little scary still, but I'm willing to take a chance on him.
I like it. I was a little upset that through the luck of the draw, essentially, that I wasn't able to make this pick, So I'm glad you made it instead.
Look at that.
And now that we're good friends, I'm going to become your enemy because I'm going to tell you the pitcher I dislike is Carlos Rodon.
BBD, kick him out. Hit the exit button. Wrong next.
Yeah, wrong next. I'll give it to you quick. I mean, we're talking about a guy, 101 innings pitched, 17 games started, 2.92 ERA. Looked mostly back last year. Looks, I think, probably in your, Yankees fan mind, fully back this year. There's some statistical stuff there. 224 BABIP is the lowest among qualified starters. The reason the BABIP is low is because he hasn't allowed line drives this year, essentially. Which if you want to be like low line drive as a pitcher, you need to be like heavy ground ball or heavy fly ball, because line drives are just batted balls between ground balls and fly balls.
You know what I mean? Bailey.
I don't know how else to explain. I have a very weird relationship. I have a weird relationship with line drives and line drive rate as a concept, because there are some guys, there are Luis Ariz, Freddie Freeman types who are just going to hit them, But so that's an element there. The fastball velo is a tick lower than it was in 2024, and he's just a high variance pitcher throughout his career. We've seen ups and we've seen downs. He's on an up right now. But yeah, I'm throwing just a little bit of, to use a stock markety term, FUD, a little fear, uncertainty, doubt, onto Carlos Rodon.
Don't FUD us on this program. I get it, but I'm just gonna say wrong.
Sure.
I guess if I was countering it with information, I think there's something to still just having what's a premier fastball. And I know the velo is not what it was, but like Rodon throws that fastball a lot. Guys know it's coming and you don't hit it. You don't see a lot of it. The slugging on it when guys do get it, because that's the result of when you do get his four-seamer. That I don't even know. I know this is a cop-out, but like Rodon has one bad pitch this year. It's his curveball, and he's thrown it 90 times, and whenever that's gotten hit, it's gotten hit a lot. And you can even, again, this is being too deep in Yankees world, but right before he started his hot streak, he should have had another amazing start against the San Francisco Giants, but he just threw a get-me-over curveball to Jung-Hoo Lee as he hit his second on the day. I see what you're saying, but I don't know. I guess for Yankee fans, if you looked at Baseball Reference and said, hey, who's this guy we signed? Judge is coming back and we got a pitcher. We got the worst taste test of that ever. Last year we got okay, we can use this guy taste test. This year's been pretty delightful. That I hope you're wrong. So that's what I have.
Yeah, and he has been an absolute dog this year. So.
Yeah.
Forgot
PPD. Yeah, I didn't consider that.
He's got the dog
Everyone's
in him.
talking about his K per 9, but nobody considered the K9 in his heart.
Jesus. The slider's good too. Whatever, man. He pitches now. Compliment that. He throws multiple pitches.
Yeah, he's not just fastball slider.
He's got a changeup. He throws a sinker now, Bailey. A sinker.
It's 2025.
God, what a mood killer, dude. That's
I'm sorry.
I don't want to be around anymore.
The Yankees are cold. We don't need that.
Party foul.
How similar do you find his velocity and movement to Justin Roblieski? the baseball savant player comps are usually just so not right.
Right, yeah. You're totally right.
I just don't get it. Because even on the bottom of Baseball Reference, when they have like the similarity scores and stuff, there's usually a couple where I perk up and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, yeah, in a way you could say they had similar careers. I don't think I've ever looked at the Baseball Savant velocity, movement, similar pitchers and been like, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't know why that is. Are they not getting something about the release point right in that calculation? I can't quite figure it out either.
Like, why is Carlos Rodon this year his fifth comparison 2022 Tucker Davidson?
Oh, you don't remember? Yeah, I mean they were saying, "Wow, this looks like what Carlos Rodon could be in a few years," when they were watching Tucker Davidson take the bump.
2018 J Happ. Okay, get me out of here. This leads us to the hitters, Bailey.
Yes. Oh, these are gonna be fun. I'm about to have some fun.
I'm nervous. Actually, I'm glad this is towards the back end of the show because people would be calling me out for clickbait, Jake. Let's do the American League first, and you can go. Let me tell you about Cushy Dreams, the best in legal cannabis, just got better. You know our friends at Cushy Dreams for their great THC products that ship directly to you. Everyone loves their gummies. They get the job done. Now, they've got a new drop, the high-powered THCA flower. Smoke it, and it's just like the real thing, but this stuff is legal. Available in smokable sativa strain and indica sativa hybrid strain. The stuff is euphoric. This fresh harvest smells great, and it's a super smooth smoke. They've got 3 different sizes. Smoke how much you want. And since you're a fan of this show, we got a special deal for you. Take 20% off all D9 gummies, smokable THCA, flower, and the entire store when you use code JOHNBOY at checkout. 20% off. Code JOHNBOY at checkout.
And because we'll start positive.
Yes.
This is a positive program. I'm gonna say I like Royce Lewis.
Okay.
Down Minnesota way.
Okay, entertain me.
So first of all, Royce Lewis didn't necessarily have a great 2024 either. After there was probably a lot of hype coming in there for him. And this year, in 30 games played, 202 average, 282 on base, 303 slug. It's not what you want to see. 2 homers in 30 games. And now he's on the IL with a hamstring strain that is supposedly mild. And he should be back soon, hopefully. But under the hood, there are, I don't want to say good things, but there are weird things happening because 2022 to 2024, so his career up until this year, 22% strikeout rate, 8% walk rate. This year, 15% strikeout rate, 10% walk rate. You go, oh, well, is he, okay, so he's, being a little more disciplined, better ratios and strikeouts and walks. Obviously, he's probably like swinging slower and sacrificing power to do it. Nope. Highest average exit velocity of his career, highest hard hit percentage of his career, highest barrel rate of his career. The thing that is missing that he's been good at every year, except for this year he's been really bad at, is that ever so crucial pulling the ball in the air thing. That thing you have to do to hit home runs. He has not done that, but he has a history of doing it already. And for me, it's tough to make heads or tails of because, hitting is about balance, right? Like if he's trying to get in front of that baseball and pull it, the swing decisions are probably going to be worse. The contact rate might be worse. And then you might see, those strikeout rates and walk rates, go back to career norms, right? But my hope is that he'll be able to find a balance between what he's done in terms of plate discipline while still being able to pull that ball. and he could come back from this hamstring strain, which again, the prognosis is pretty positive on, and he seems like, I mean, he's always a really positive dude, let's be honest. So maybe I don't need to trust him on this, but I don't know. This Twins team is sort of in a weird limbo. They don't really know where they're at in the competitive cycle. They don't really know where they're at this year. But I wonder if he could be a game changer for them in the second half, because there is some weird stuff going on under the hood.
That pull percentage is very interesting. Yeah, the injuries are really racking up for a young guy, which if you're the Twins, you have to just be horrified. Like, how could Buxton have this track record, and now our next 1-1 has what's looking just like a ridiculous injury history for a player his age. When he said he never slumps, the baseball gods were going to get him.
Yes.
And you just can't say that, dude. Everyone slumped. Barry Bonds slumped. I like the pick for obvious reasons. Just the talent and the swings we've seen him have, even in the postseason, and for everything else you mentioned. Get him on the field, and I'll believe in him. Because what's the sample size this year? How many games?
It's 30 games. It's 30 really bad games.
Every day of my life. All right. It's Rage Beta Clock.
Oh, let's go. Oh, no. Okay. I think I know where you're going, but let's hear it.
Would you like to guess?
Okay. Would you describe this gentleman's rear end as normal sized? Or perhaps slightly above average?
I would not describe it as normal sized.
Oh, no. It's not small, is it?
It's not very small. Are you sure it's not small?
Oh, no. Is it round and plump?
Here's what I'll say. Everything I'm about to say, I hope I don't believe in.
Okay.
But.
Politician over here.
Well, me and Seattle have done an interesting dance over the past couple years, as I've wanted to enjoy that franchise, but they can make it tough sometimes, and then they acknowledge it sometimes, and then they don't. I took shots at their first sweet prince, Julio, because I said I don't think he's the superstar, or I need to see him be the superstar that we kind of thought. And where are his numbers at? Is Julio back in the game? I feel like he's racking up WAR. Yeah. But 719 OPS, Julio's got more than that in his bat. I think Seattle fans would admit that. Anyways, this isn't about him. It's about the big dumper. BBD, I know I probably should have told you this earlier, but if you could get his baseball savant on the screen, Cal Raleigh has obviously a very nice baseball savant this year. The batting run value is 100th percentile, because he's setting historic records. He has 32 home runs this year. And the WOBA, the barrel percentage, the hard hit rate, it's all very good. It's not that far off from last year. If you go to his baseball savant, and again, Mariners fans, I want to call myself out on this, because this isn't how I consume the game of baseball. Right now, when I see Big Dumper coming up to the plate, I think he's about to drop a poo-poo. But for this exercise, so there's 2025. We have it on the YouTube right now. A lot of heavy red and a chunk of blue and squared up percentage, chase percentage, whiff percentage. But again, some of those numbers can be less important when you're doing everything else right, which Cal Raleigh is this year. Put up 2024. It's not that different, Bailey. Hey, man, I want to believe. I want a Cal Raleigh, Aaron Judge home run race. Let's change the sport. You tune into Judge from 7 to 10. You tune into Cal from 10 to 1. Baseball is back. The home run race saves this great country yet again. Cal's going nuts. He has a career 789 OPS, and I don't know what has fully changed. He's clearly been better. Have the changes he's made him a 300 OPS plus points better? I think that's kind of fair.
So I was getting the mix about this last night on X.com, the everything app, and and I ruffled some feathers, probably some of your your Yankees Twitter friends' feathers, but the thing they were coming at me with, which really wasn't the topic of my discussion at all, is that, well, Raleigh's going to regress and Judge isn't, right?
Sure.
And that is probably true, right? Like, let's be real. That's why we're having the discussion now about like the positional value of catcher and whether that makes up for the gap, because chances are the gap in the offense is going to, right? Look at how they're pacing, right? Like, which do you believe is more? Do you think Cal Raleigh's going to hit 65 homers or Judge is going to maintain a 1200 OPS? I'm taking Judge to do that rather than Cal. If there is one skill I can point to is like, oh, this is why he's way better this year. It is the air pull percentage, which we've talked about earlier. Right. He's best in the league at that this year. It's 38%, which is just absolutely wild. But also he's been pretty good at that too,
right,
leading into this year. That's not exactly a new thing for him. And it's curious because, when I did my Foolish 50, Jake, I was kind of like, I felt like maybe Contreras had more untapped offensive upside than Cal Raleigh, because Cal Raleigh's like, well, he's going to pull the ball in the air. He's going to barrel it. He's probably going to run a low batting average, but he's going to take his walks. It's like, we kind of knew what he was, right? He'd kind of been the same guy ever since he got here. And this year it's different. And it's different primarily just because he's homering like every, 11 or 12 at bats. If he can keep pulling the ball in the air at this rate, he probably will keep doing that. But, that is ultimately the question here. It's can he just keep hitting the homers? Because again, like you said, nothing with the profile has changed all that much beyond that. And so, he needs to keep hitting homers every 10 or 11 at bats, or else that batting average is going to come down. And then the on base percentage is going to come down.
Traditionally hard to do. And I genuinely hope I very much enjoy watching Cal Raleigh. Part of my Mariners dance the past couple of years is because it's a rabid fan base. That's the 12th man. That's go check out their soccer games. Like, these people are kind of sports rabid by nature or not nature, that they've deserved better baseball in the Pacific Northwest. Cal is bringing that right now. And it's also, in a way, I'll be honest, it's a little soft because, yes, he has to regress. Otherwise, we're seeing the new American League home run hitter, and it's a catcher when a catcher's never hit 50 homers. So, in a way, it's the softball answer. So I'll call myself out. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, and people in Seattle are, you know what? Give me another espresso shot. Let's wrap it up with Bailey. Who's an NL hitter you dislike? Let's turn the gun on you, pal.
This is different from your Raleigh pick, because this is a guy who people were really hyped on coming into the season. Not that people weren't on Raleigh, and who has maybe only delivered like an all right, maybe slightly disappointing first half, but I bet the stock valuation is still really high.
Okay.
And that's going to be Jackson Chourio.
Okay.
Who has been, I will remind you, a top 10 position player by F4 in the second half of 2024 at the age of, what was he, about 12 last year?
Yes.
So this year he's 13, and it's been a little bit disappointing, I think, for some people. 257 average, 287 on base, 445 slug. He does have 12 homers and 15 steals in 79 games. But he's essentially been a league average hitter that I bet people are anticipating will explode in the second half again. And that's kind of what I'm here to say, is sort of pump the brakes on that stock valuation, because if you really look at his numbers, and it's not just this year, I will use the numbers from this year, but even last year he had, weaknesses in these areas. He's below league average in a lot of areas. He's below league average in his barrel rate this year. His chase rate is high. Because the chase rate is high, the contact rate is below average, and the pulling the ball in the air is below average as well. And those might be the four most important skills a hitter can have, and he's been below average in all four of those this year. I understand he's very exciting player to watch, very dynamic, still likely to be a great player or even superstar in the long term. But I think we need to recognize sometimes the development of these guys isn't totally linear. Just because a guy had a really great season for a 20-year-old doesn't mean he's going to be, this amazing 21-year-old. And that's okay. That is just perfectly okay. So I'm saying Chourio, I'm not here to say to instill FUD
Yes.
long term. But I'm saying for the second half, maybe let's pump the brakes a little bit.
You're tempting fate a little bit with this one, Foolish, and you discussed it, but there's some numbers to like, and this guy had the first half last year that led him to the second half last year, that maybe he's one of those guys, and we'll end up chuckling in a couple years. Like, Chourio's always off to a slow start, and then the 1 year when he does get off to an 850 OPS start, we'll say, could Chourio win the MVP this year and have 8 WAR?
Right.
And maybe that's 2 years, maybe that's 8 years. Like, he's a baby in the game of baseball. Just really weird. Last year, Chourio was better versus righties than lefties by a significant amount. This year, he has flipped. He's mauling lefties, a 976 OPS, a 600 slug, where righties, he's really struggling. So that's are the baseball gods going to level each other out there? Or is this Jackson Chourio's year where he mauled lefties, but something against righties was off all year? The OBP is just it's in that scary place for any hitter. If it's below a 3, it's just tough to believe. The only corny Jake one I have for you, Bailey, that you don't see a lot of the analytics guys referencing this one. He's been great on the road this year. An 813 OPS on the road, a 644 at home, which, again, that's probably nothing. That could just be eating well. That could be, maybe there's something in Milwaukee that bothers him, or it's just dumb and absolutely nothing that he's run into the right pitchers on the wrong day. I'm a little surprised. It doesn't exactly pass the Jakey sniff test.
Oh, well, we'll just have to see on that one. Give me your pick in the National League.
Hate when we beef. I'm very interested to see in your reaction in this one. This one is a little bit of Storielli scouting, and it's anticipating a trade. I think the baseball world hasn't agreed to it yet. Marcell Ozuna.
Interesting.
So, what do I have working against me? Father Time. Although, in my head, Ozuna was like 36. He's 34, which, 34 still works in the warehouse game some days. I think there's a little bit of Braves-itis here where, we haven't ever said that a player might need a change of scenery from the Braves. Bailey, the walk rate is insane. Marcell Ozuna is not still getting on. He's getting on base at a 385 clip this year, which is higher than last year. It's just the actual hitting is down, which, again, I don't watch every Braves game day in, day out. On base can go up as you mature as a player, usually not at age 34-ish. But I just see, and this is me leaning into what I saw from Marcell Ozuna last year, a player, talking about him like in Game of Thrones, a girl has become a DH. The man has become a DH, and he loves it. He talks about it openly. No one on the Braves is really mashing, except Ronnie now that he's back. That I don't know. I just see Ozuna the last 2 years as the 905 OPS, the 925 OPS last year that had him 4th in MVP voting. Is he just taking too many walks? Is he getting pitched around a little bit? You would probably know better than me. I'm still in on Marcell Ozuna. I do think the Braves are going to trade him, and I think he's a guy that if he shows up on the Padres' doorstep, if he shows up on wherever he shows up, that man is going to be happy to DH, happy to hit in the middle of the lineup, and I think he's going to. I think he's going to have a better second half.
He's divisive in the Braves community. Okay. I speak as an ambassador right now. It's because he is shown a more passive approach at the plate, and that has led to more walks, and that has led to better on base percentage. But I think, people for what he does in the lineup and what he's done in the lineup for them, particularly in 23 and 24, it's like some of the Votto stuff. It's like the base path clogger stuff. Really, it's like, okay, this guy's going to have an awesome on base percentage, but is he impacting the game the same way he were if he were, trying to hit 40 bombs, right? The other thing too with him, and this is going to be, I think, probably the most important thing other than the approach change, is that he is playing through some nagging hip stuff. And I think that has perhaps sapped the power a little bit. But you know what? Things can get better on that front. Like it's a long season, and if that hip starts to feel a little bit better, then yeah, maybe the power comes back, and then you start to combine some of that power with the plate discipline gains, and all of a sudden, like I mean, the league is in trouble no matter what team he's playing for. So I like this pick. I do think there is Bravesitis. Um, I think that is a real thing.
Crazy.
And I'm very curious to see what they'll do with him at the deadline. I low-key kind of wanted to trade him this past offseason because I thought maybe Acuna was going to need DH days and you could sell really high. But no, I don't hate this pick at all.
As I was going through some different guys in the National League, I want to see where young, thick Austin Riley was at, but as I clicked around different pages, it looks on paper eerily similar to last year, where for Ozuna, I saw it looks similar to last year while being, 130 OPS points below. The hip thing is interesting, and I guess I could say, hey, the All-Star break, rest that thing up. He's going to be amazing. Or, he could have a tweak tonight and he's Marcell Ozuna searching for walks. And like you said, that clog the bases feeling, that's something that adds to Bravesitis. That was some Yankeesitis in years past that can be horribly frustrating as a baseball team.
It's because when the other guys can't hit, then it's just like, it's Lob City. And I'm not talking Florida Gulf Coast. I'm talking, no, it's Dunk City. I apologize.
It's okay.
Who was Lob City? Was that the Clippers 1 year or something like that?
Yeah.
Mixing up my sports here, but it's Left on Base City. That was the joke I was trying to make. Please laugh. Please clap.
Oh, no.
Thank you, BBD.
Who, I guess who are some, and you don't have to dive into them, but who are some just misses along the way as you were diving into this exercise?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I mean, I would still, it's just betting on history, but I would still probably look at some of the Rangers hitters that we mentioned earlier, like, like the Seager, Simeon, Langford bunch in terms of guys who could stand to hit more. I don't know. I just got on here. I think teams wise, if I was really shooting from the hip, like I would maybe try to justify to you that the Pirates weren't completely out of it either, or that the Orioles weren't completely out of it either, or that maybe the Tigers still aren't even all that, the cream of the crop necessarily. But that's a long shot.
There's an Orioles discussion.
Yeah.
They just
more so than a Pirates discussion.
They need another 8-2 in their last 10 to seriously have that discussion, and it could very easily turn into a 2-8 in the last 10. So I don't think it's time for the Orioles discussion. And again, this wasn't trying to suck up to Red Sox fans. I'm on a Cedon Rafaela kick right now. I'm wondering if the light bulb has gone off. He's raked for the last month, and he looks the part for me that like some guys are just different. He's different, and we've seen that defensively. Like his offensive light bulb might have gone on, and he might be their 6.5 WAR player this year instead of Duran.
Here's another guy I'll throw out on the Red Sox because everyone was talking about him in the first month, and then that talk disappeared. But Wilyer Abreu, is a guy that I think if you see hitting peripherals and analytics the way I do, I mean, he just still sort of screams elite hitter under the hood in a lot of ways with a lot of his skills. And I know right now he's got to a point where his OPS and his OPS plus are just back to in line with where they were in 2024 when he was good, but not, we're not talking superstar here. But I wonder if he could kick it up into gear again, like we saw in April, and, help make Boston relevant as well.
I have 2 more things I have to ask you, Bailey. This first one is so delicious, and I'm glad you're not prepared for it. For Ben Rice, where do you have him on the Greg Bird to Tino Martinez scale?
I guess I'm certainly closer to Tino Martinez. I mean, I kind of had this one preseason. Again, There's receipts. I have receipts. It's him, and I'll give another comp here. It's him and Shonowell kind of having similar years, I feel like, in a lot of
Okay.
ways, because here's a guy who was just a minor league performer, and in Shonowell's case, really just a college performer. We can kind of include that in the
Right.
calculation as well. Climbs his way through the system, and the reason they perform so well is because they have this great understanding of their plate discipline is great. Like Ben Rice's swing decisions in 24 when he came up in the big leagues were amazing, and that was obfuscated by the fact that he didn't hit all that well, apart from having one 3-homer game. But what they did is they both focused adding bat speed, focused on adding pop, focused on trying to hit a few more homers, and there have been improvements there. So I'm very much pro Ben Rice, because I knew he had the skills in terms of the discipline, and it's just going to be sort of this tightrope act of, can I pull enough fly balls and hit for enough power and take advantage of that short porch in Yankee Stadium, because there are underlying skills there.
His baseball savant looks like peak Giancarlo Stanton. It's unbelievable. I've been fading myself, but now after looking at this page, I've been saying, if the Yankees shouldn't let Ben Rice get in the way of a potential World Series type trade. Maybe he should. Look at, if a top prospect was doing this, we'd be talking about him being the future of baseball.
I have a comp right now that I'm looking at this more, and this would be, because this is the type of player that would be divisive, I think, in terms of Yankees fans, because he was divisive for the team that he played for. But I'm seeing a little bit of Brandon Belt.
Okay.
I don't know about the glove at first necessarily, but I feel like just in terms of how he profiles offensively, and someone who could have ebbs and flows, and someone who ultimately statistically a good player, but maybe not quite the superstar, maybe not quite the amount of homers that his fan base would want. I wonder if this is on the Greg Bird to Tino Martinez scale, if this is indeed Brandon Belt.
That's a very interesting name, Bailey. And it still makes me curious, because with the Yankees' resources, if Brandon Belt / Ben Rice can turn into more important assets, how hurt do you get watching him be Brandon Belt for another franchise if that happens? Career WAR for Brandon Belt, Beebs. I don't know if Bailey just went to his page.
I was just doing that. Now look up Tino Martinez.
I looked at Tino's stats last night for too long. 30 career WAR.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of it coming from first base defense, which I think some people think is the real deal, and some people think is just sort of dubious, know?
194 career home runs. It's interesting. Those two beautiful 21 and 23 really were nice kickers to turn him into Hall of Very Good.
Yeah.
Bailey, my last one. It's that time of year, and sometimes I ask you after every episode, which is walking all over itself. Who's Bailey's new high-rising prospect that the people don't know about that they need to hear about?
Man, you see, you're putting me on the spot.
I know you hate this one.
I kind of hate this one because I haven't totally been doing this exercise all year.
We do this dance.
I might need you to give me a sec. I really do.
We slow play it. You apologize. I apologize. And then you have a moment of brilliance.
There's a guy.
See, it already happened.
He's in Ohio. He's in an organization that's in Ohio.
LeBron James? What is this?
I can't remember. I'm pulling up the minor league leaderboards right now.
He's in a minor league team in Ohio.
He's an outfielder. We're gonna find him. We are gonna find him. Here he is. We're gonna go with Tommy Hawk, of course.
Okay.
The 2023 sixth rounder for the Cleveland Guardians, out of Wake Forest. The reason he's interesting is he has 63 stolen bases in 63 games. So he is stealing at a rate that is similar to Chandler Simpson last year. And Chandler Simpson, you'll recall, was stealing at a rate that we hadn't seen since Billy Hamilton in the minors, which that is an all-time great baseball reference look, is Billy Hamilton minor league stats. But we're going to shout out Tommy Hawk. You know why? Because he's a 22-year-old in A-ball, but he steals bases, and his name is basically Tomahawk, which is cool.
Oh, How are you spelling the last name there?
Sort of a Ethan Hawke situation
okay.
here with the E at the end. Yeah.
Like our girl Tua. Tommy Hawk. Okay, interesting profile picture. Listed 5'8", $155. So he's in.
Why not?
He's in our weight class. More walks than strikeouts this year. 63 steals, 5 caught stealing. A stolen base per game. Yes, Bailey.
Why not?
I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but Bailey, it keeps working for me. I keep getting something I can nibble on. Bailey's Creamy Beige. Anything to tease the people with?
Oh yeah, I've got some good stuff coming up. I really like the video I'm working on. It's sort of a just sort of a sort of meta, big scale picture of like what's a trend around the league that has been occurring for the last 5-10 years that I don't think a lot of people have necessarily picked up on. I can't say much more than that, but it will be interesting. I think you'll sort of see the landscape of the league a little bit differently once you see what I put out, hopefully in about 5 or 6 days.
Okay. I also, when you get a second, when you daydream in 20 years, when we have a front office and Cole Tucker's our manager and Trevor Plouffe is our jaded hitting assistant. Dude, can we just teach kids how to play defense again? Because I watched relay throws this weekend that just cost teams games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just absurd. It's absurd. So I don't know. Find a way to nerdify playing defense better, because I end up sounding like Ned Yost.
Can I tell you my thing? I want better running. I want better.
Okay.
Some of these guys just run weird.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's runs to be gained on the base pass. There's runs to be gained in terms of defense, particularly with outfielders and range. Like, these are baseball players. A lot of them are, when they're stance, they're hunched over. If they're catchers, they're crouched. Like I think maybe we need to teach these guys to run a little bit more. There's a thing where Julio, who has maintained speed despite the fact that he added so much muscle over his, minor league development, like he has like a running coach. It's just a guy that keeps him fast. That's sort of my like player dev thing. Like, can we just teach him how to run? Because I wonder are we doing that?
Being fast helps in almost every sport.
It helps.
I don't know if there's actually anything to this. Trevor watched the Brewers destroy the Twins this weekend, and he said that the Brewers were the best base running team he's ever seen.
And I pulled up the numbers for him because we did baseball today together, and I was like, they are first in extra base taking percentage in the National League.
Sal, no free licks here. Bailey, thank you so much. We look forward to your next video, and we look forward to seeing you on here and in the Dirty ATL for the All-Star game coming up.
And JM Baseball doing trivia for the next week or two still. So yeah, I'm everywhere, baby. I'm a company man.
The bankroll continues. Thank you so much, Foolish. And thank you to everyone. Subscribe, all the YouTube type stuff. We love you. We'll see you soon.